There we go. What is up, everyone? How's it been going? And this could be the new time. If you see, I'm wet. I was just swimming in the pool. Reason why I've had to change it because I started, or should I say, restarted a job that I had last summer. Just it's the same place but a different position. I'm not going to disclose where I work. I don't want that location getting harassed by unhinged people. I'm just gonna say that. But what's shorter content will come. It will definitely come. I'm just needed a little. Usually I take the weekends off, so we're gonna start. I think the focus on today is going to be the Trump indictment, and I'm not. We're just going to get into it. Like, share, subscribe, and so here. So first off, we have this news. This is a couple of hours ago, and so this is Red Eagle Politics. He was quoting Fiona, which said that breaking federal judge releases Donald Trump without conditions, which is different because in the New York case, when he was released with conditions. And so, as is said here, Trump even had conditions for the nonsensical Bragg case. Could this case already be falling apart? Seems like it could. I think that's the thing. And they've got the Georgia one. They've got multiple ones. They can indict him as much as they want. He could run for president from prison and just pardon himself. If that happens, oh my god, the left is gonna go bonkers, including all the unhinged leftists. Like that one guy who starts with J. I don't even know how to pronounce his name, but he's like the MC. Hopefully, he can become the MCU fan of my show. But so here's another thing. This is Real America's Voice. So Carrie Lake. So we had Carrie Lake, Vivek Ramaswamy, and of course the always brilliant Laura Loomer outside of the courthouse in Miami. And this is Pasobic. Nope. I got this. It's this one. So this is Pasobic.
For us live in Miami. And special guest for us live in Miami. Ed and Karen, take it away.
That's right, Jack. And if you've got a question, give it to me in a minute. I'm going to bring in Carrie Lake, outstanding rock star for the Republican Party, America First, now a hit record out there as well, 81 million votes, and now supporting Donald Trump. Why is it important for you and other patriots to be outside this court now?
I think it's really important. We need to show President Trump that we've got his back. He has had our back since he came down that escalator almost 8 years to the date, really, if you think about it. And they have thrown everything at him: witch hunt, impeachment hoax number 1, impeachment hoax number 2, Russiagate. It's really just an effort to continue to disparage the one man who is standing up for we the people. We need a president who's going to stand up for the people. He's not owned by the donor class. He's not owned by the lobbyists. He's not owned by the, establishment. He is working for us, and we're here to support him and tell him we know what this is. It's another witch hunt. We know he's an innocent man, and we're here to support him. And by the way, this is one of the most beautiful settings I've ever seen. The love here, hundreds, maybe thousands of people here.
Peaceful.
Very peaceful. But funny, Ed, and you know this because you used to work for some of these other outlets.
The fake news, yeah.
The fake news. I saw two people who were here who were against Trump, and the media was around them, and that
Pictures, video. Let's rile them up.
That's what they'll show on the evening news. They won't show this amazing, loving situation environment we have.
Technically, they did, though. And we're going to play the clip of Trump's attorney who talked about how illegitimate this was. And tomorrow's actually Trump's birthday. So, mostly peaceful Latinos ran to Laura Loomer. That is awesome. Two really pretty, you can't even tell them apart. They're so trying to find where, because if I can find, here's actually, I think here's actually some words from 45 himself.
National security laws, and then obstructing and refusing to cooperate with the.
They're saying happy
FBI.
birthday.
Whatever this spectacle is that's unfolding before us, let's remember what this case is about. Let's remember what this indictment charges. Again, Donald Trump.
Let's see this. So Jake Tapper's reaction to CNN appeal showing support for Donald Trump. The folks in the control room. I don't need to see any of that.
Is charged with a series of federal felonies for mishandling the most sensitive government.
Oh, there was a representative, and I saw this because Jeremy did a Cobra cast.
Documents that we have, and for obstruction of justice, along with Walt Nauta, who is charged with intentionally setting up lies to the grand jury, to the FBI. Any way you look at this, and again, despite whatever may be going on in that restaurant, this case isn't going to be settled legally in a cafe. It's going to be settled in the court based on the facts and law.
The folks in the control room, I don't need to see any more of that. He's trying to turn this in. He's trying to turn it into a spectacle, into a campaign ad.
Because you idiots don't know. You people are such idiots. It's of course Trump is. This guy's been in media. He's been a tycoon for decades. He knows how to do this. He knows that same things that apply to him outside of politics can apply to him in politics when it comes to this. And
that's enough of that. We've seen it already. Let's go over again the 37 charges that Donald Trump is facing right now. We don't have to go into each one.
Sure.
But Ellie, if you could basically detail what are the allegations here? We have counts 1 to 31. Those have to do with specific.
So we're just going to be reacting to stuff on Twitter. We already saw that clip of Carrie Lake. If there's a couple of articles, we'll read those. Because this is what it's just going to be about. And there's obviously the blame with the pride thing. But I think this Trump indictment, it's getting... something unrelated. If you want to just see my Twitter at Jared the America. There's a live action Bambi. Might make a video on that. So Donald and Melania are with their granddaughter. So this is Ivanka and Jared's. I hope she doesn't turn out to be like her mother and father. What a sellout Ivanka is, betraying her own father. Like, it will come back to bite her in the end. You don't betray family. Then there's Garth Brooks, who called anyone who, because of the whole Boyk Bud Light thing, like, Garth Brooks is such a fake. He tries to make himself look like this ultra Americana guy. Also, so what about this DeSantis? Ron DeSantis to attend fundraiser. Ron DeSantis to attend fundraising with Wall Street execs, including former Soros firm partner. So DeSimps. So I guess DeSantis, he's the anti-establishment. Trump's with the establishment. Where was DeSantis today when Trump was being arraigned? The only candidate who was there to support him was Vivek. And, I thought there's rumors going around Vivek was going to drop out of the race today and endorse Trump. That didn't happen. But, I mean, how things are going. And, I thought that was going to happen. I was wrong. I'll admit it. But I think the fact that the only candidate that came out in support was Vivek and none of the others. In fact, you see people like Chris Christie actually endorsing this. Meanwhile, you see DeSantis doesn't even mention Trump's name. So, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is coming to New York for a private fundraiser for his presidential campaign. The event is set to be hosted by at least 4 Wall Street executives. One of the executives was once tied to a investment firm funded by billionaire George Soros, who's been a major target of DeSantis and the right. So we're going to read this full article because haters, if they don't see, and Trump, he's going to actually be in New Jersey. Unfortunately, I won't be able to attend. I mean, that would be awesome. I mean, I'd love to meet Donald Trump. That'd be awesome. So, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is coming to New York for a private presidential campaign fundraiser that's set to be hosted by at least 4 Wall Street executives, including one with past ties to a firm backed by liberal billionaire George Soros, a frequent target of DeSantis and other Republicans. The event is scheduled to take place June 29th at the Swanky Yale Club. Yale. That's where DeSantis went. It's not the same Yale, but he went to Yale University. So, according to a copy of an invitation seen by CNBC, it will be one of DeSantis' first fundraisers in the Big Apple since he officially launched his campaign for president last month. It also comes soon after Donald Trump, the frontrunner in the 2024 GOP primary, was indicted on dozens of counts in a state case in Manhattan and a federal case in Miami. New York is a lucrative fundraising hotspot for both parties. Donors in New York and the New York Metro control over $680 million to their preferred political candidates during the 2022 election cycle, according to data from the nonpartisan Open Secrets. So we're gonna, and yes, I'm gonna read this entire thing. It'll make the stream go by so much faster because I am starving. I'm going to have something that I'm going to probably have something to eat after the stream is over. So, and also got Tuesday night's main event. Eric July is going to be talking about ice on that. So, but anyway, back to this. The host listed on the DeSantis invite include Paul Ardrey. Is that how you say it? A partner at the Golden Tree Asset Management, along with Christian Michalik, Rob Michalik, and Korthwain. I can't pronounce this. Korthwain Karth owners, who are all leaders at the Kinderhook Industries, a private equity firm with at least $5 billion assets under management. According to data from Pitchbrook, Golden Tree has at least $50 billion in assets under management, Pitchbrook says. Shortly after the publication of the story, our diary, Audrey Isa, called CNBC to say that he was added to the gatherings host list by mistake. CNBC saw two different invitations at the event showing him as a co-host. I think it was a misunderstanding. Audrey said, I think that's how you pronounce it. I might be able to come to the event, he had. He said he's not going to the event or supporting DeSantis for president because Golden Tree does not allow partners to back state-based officials for office. DeSantis is still governor of Florida, and Golden Tree has its office in West Palm Beach, Florida. So we got some that's pretty interesting. This guy, Paul Audrey, I guess, in a similar situation because DeSantis wasn't allowed to run unless he resigned. He got rid of the resign to run laws. Maybe you'll see DeSantis get rid of DeSantis collaborate with the private business. I mean, DeSantis is going to be a corporate warmonger president if he gets in. But where were we? According to the invitation, in order to attend the DeSantis fundraiser, a co-host must raise $50,000, and attendees to the lunch must contribute $6,600. The maximum amount a donor can give that can then be split evenly between the primary campaign account and the general election account. An old Soros connection. So this should get really interesting because we know how much of a dirt. Anyone who watches and is awake knows how much of a dirt. And you know what? I might do some videos on this. I think either later tonight or tomorrow I'll do a video because, oh my God, this is crazy. So one of the hosts, Mitchell, was a partner at the Soros Private Equity Partners, a leveraged buyout fund sponsored by George Soros. According to Mitchell's corporate biography on Kinderhook website, he was a partner there from 1999 until 2003. Got 199 before founding Kinderhook, according to Mitch Black LinkedIn page. The Soros private equity firm was an arm of the Soros Fund Management, which was once structured as a hedge fund, but is now organized as a family office. In 2001, Michalik was appointed to the board of Texas-based RLT Technologies after the Soros Fund invested $40 million in the company, according to the Houston Chronicles. Michalik has given sporadically to Republican officials, according to data from the Open Secrets. One of his biggest donations came in 2006 for $10,000 to the Republican Party of Florida. During the 2022 election, Michalik gave $5,800 to Jesse Rising, a Republican who lost in a primary for an Illinois House seat. DeSantis has taken aim at candidates financed by the Soros, a Democrat megadonor. In Florida, we've recognized the menace posed by left-wing prosecutors who get elected, usually with big campaign contributions from people like George Soros, he said earlier this month while on the campaign trail. That aged well then. Soros is routinely the target of attacks from other Republicans as well. DeSantis press secretary is named Brian Griffin. And you can't make this up. This is clown world, said in a statement to CNBC. Governor DeSantis enjoys broad support, including from Disney expats and even a former Soros employee who rejects the woke and embraces the law and order. Will gladly utilize any contribution to oppose Soros' agenda and benefit the American people. So this is about the Disney DeSantis feud. A spokesman for the campaign pointed to DeSantis' comment from a recent area. Somebody does a campaign contribution, you're supposed to lay down for them. That's not how I operate. People can support me or not support me. I call them as I see them. If you want to have support for me, if you have support for me, but you're wrong, I am going to wait. I call them as I see them. And if you have support in me, but you're wrong, I'm going to do what's right. I don't know. Oh, I guess me watching too much Jeremy is making me hilarious. I'm just joking. Mitchell immediately commented to CNBC. Earlier this year, Soros said during a speech at the Munich Security Conference, he hopes the GOP primary fight for president comes down to Trump and DeSantis, which the billionaire said could force the former president to run as a third-party candidate. That's all you need to know. If George Soros wants DeSantis, he's literally telling you. Sometimes it is clear. So lay on support. Another co-host is longtime DeSantis ally Robert Gifara, a co-chair at legal giant Sullivan and Cromwell, according to the invite. Gifara, according to campaign financial records, is the only co-host for the event who has given six-figure contribution to Republican causes since the 2016 election cycle. The relative lack of contributions. Oh, no, new Tucker. So after this, we're going to react to that. Live reaction. The relative lack of contribution from the other hosts says a possible lack of interest from some of the bigger GOP donors in the business community. When it comes to helping DeSantis, according to Republican strategist familiar with the event. This person declined to name out of fear of retribution from DeSantis and his team. That's pretty interesting. So the strategist has described the host lineup as surprisingly less lacquer, with Guevara as the only stamp. Steve Schwartzman, the CEO of private equity, so I can pronounce that, Schwartzman, and the CEO of private equity giant Blackstone and veteran GOP megadonor, is reportedly holding off on backing DeSantis after meeting with the Florida governor, according to Bloomberg. Still, even without the help of the likes of Schwartzman, DeSantis has raised over $8 million in the first 24 hours of his campaign's launch. I'm pretty sure Trump raised more. And that's $8 million compared to, so, or did not return requests for comment. DeSantis and the event's co-hosts have ties to fundraiser venues due to them all being Yale graduates. Yale club members can only be those who received a degree from the Ivy League school or full-time graduate students who are completing a degree granting program at Yale and full-time professors, according to their website. DeSantis graduated from Yale in 2001. DeSantis said in a book just released before he ran for president that he viewed earning a degree from Yale was the equivalent of being a political scholar in a Republican primary. I'm one of the very few people who went through both Yale and Harvard Law School and came out more conservative than I went in, DeSantis wrote in his book. If I could withstand 7 years of indoctrination from the Ivy League, then I will be able to survive Washington, D.C. without going native. Oh, you sweet summer child, Ron. You have no idea. But Tucker Carlson uploaded a new this was just released like 13 minutes ago, so we're going to react.
Hey, it's Tucker Carlson. The Biden administration arrested Donald Trump this afternoon. They had him arraigned and fingerprinted in a Miami courthouse like the accused felon he now technically is. These were the first steps in a process that is designed to put Donald Trump behind bars for the rest of his life. Cable news carried every moment of it live. It's unprecedented, they told us, with what looked like shock. But they weren't shocked. They knew this was coming. Everyone who's paid attention knew it was. What just happened was always going to happen. It's been inevitable since February 16th, 2016. That's the day Donald Trump made a blood enemy of the largest and most powerful organization in human history, which would be the federal government. Despite what you may remember, it wasn't anything that Trump had said about immigration or trade with China or rapists from Mexico. Those are the stories that dominated the headlines that year. Trump's a racist, they screamed. Stop him. But inside Washington, that was just noise. None of it really rated. Identity politics doesn't mean much to permanent Washington. What matters then and now is foreign policy, the invasions and occupations and proxy wars, the decisions that determine which global populations will thrive and which will die, the policies that come with trillion-dollar price tags, the ones that over time have made the counties around D.C. the richest suburbs in the world. In Washington, that's what actually matters. And it's obvious when you look carefully. When there's a debate about anything else, for example, the debt ceiling, both sides take their assigned positions and they start yelling. But when Congress decides to start a war, no matter how foolish or counterproductive or obviously disconnected from America's core interests that war may be, when that happens, the leaders of both parties automatically jump behind it like circus clowns. They stay there, sometimes for...
They do. They like to...
decades.
So you saw the Ukraine when Russia invaded. You saw both Republicans and Democrats come out. It might be the most bipartisan, because if there's something that that both Democratic and Republican politicians are bipartisan on its war. Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, they have huge stocks in it, and they want the war to go on so they can keep laying the killing fields.
They defend that war relentlessly against all evidence until somebody finally rings the all clear bell and they can begin to admit that actually, maybe it wasn't such a great idea. We meant well, but it just didn't work out. The good news is we've learned a lot of important lessons. In the
like we've learned that a lot of people in the United States Congress deserve to be brought on war crime charges.
And they usually do say something like that, but only after emotions have cooled and the damning details have begun to fade from collective memory. It's an apology that's not actually an apology, much less repentance, and it's years too late to matter in any case. But until then, that's all you're getting. Until then, no dissent is allowed. That's the first rule of Washington. But somehow Trump didn't bother to follow it. He is from out of town, so maybe he didn't know it was a rule, or maybe he just didn't care. Either way, 7.5 years later, we can point to the precise moment that permanent Washington decided to send Donald Trump to prison. Here it is. It's from the Republican candidates debate in Greenville, South Carolina.
We should have never been in Iraq. We have destabilized the Middle East. They lied. They said there were weapons of mass destruction. There were none, and they knew there were none. There were no weapons of mass destruction.
All right.
We should never have been in Iraq, Trump said. We destabilized the Middle East. Now, by the time Trump said that, a lot of Republican primary voters were starting to reach the same conclusion. How could they not? But it was the next line that doomed Trump to today's arrest. They lied, he said. There were no weapons of mass destruction, and they knew there were none. Now, when he said that, a few in the crowd booed. Most just sat there in silence.
The donors booed.
Stunned. Can he say that? Well, he said it anyway. And by saying that, he sealed his fate. That was the one thing you were not allowed to say because it implicated too many people on both sides, which on this topic is really just one side. Hillary Clinton was guilty of it, but so was Paul Ryan. All of them were guilty. They all knew, they all lied. And to a person, they hated Donald Trump for exposing them. After that, it was pretty clear that even if he did get elected president, Trump was going to have a very hard time controlling the federal government he was supposed to be in charge of.
And he did. Trump was not in control. Unfortunately, he listened to McConnell too much and put in too many deep state assets. Like a second Trump term, he's got to listen to his own base and put in his own assets.
Most of permanent Washington decided that thwarting Trump was the single most important mission in their lives. Everything depended on it. Many of them said so publicly, but others didn't say so publicly. In fact, the stealthier ones took another path. They ran toward Trump, not away from him. They sucked up to him. They ingratiated themselves with the man they intuitively understood was susceptible to flattery, which Trump is. And they did this in order to subvert his new administration from the inside. There were a number of these, and you could spot them immediately. They were flatterers. Invariably, the ones who flattered Trump the most hated him the most and disagreed the most strongly with his views. You saw them in the hallways of the White House and at press conferences. They were there slobbering over their boss with elaborate self-abasement, as if they were addressing a monarch or a god. It was a scene from the Ottoman court. It was filthy and decadent, and it was false. Mike Pence, Nikki Haley, Mike Pompeo, Lindsey Graham in the Congress. They all called Trump a visionary genius up until the moment he lost power. And then they unsheathed their real agenda, as always, the neocon war agenda, and they piled on with maximum force. Here's Mike Pompeo, for example, on Fox News this morning.
President Trump had classified documents where he shouldn't have had them. And then when given the opportunity to return them, he chose not to do that for whatever reason. When somebody identifies that, you got to turn them in. And so that's inconsistent with protecting America's soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines. And if the allegations are true, some of these were pretty serious, important documents. And so that's wrong.
May future historians hoping to unlock the mysteries of late Empire Washington study that clip, because it will reveal everything. That very same Mike Pompeo, the one who's sneering at Donald Trump on TV this morning, that guy served Donald Trump as both CIA director and as Secretary of State. Those are the two most powerful jobs in the federal government. And as he worked in those jobs, Pompeo promised, in fact, he swore to support the president's agenda. Why? Because that's the way a democracy works. You vote for a candidate in the belief that his appointees will carry out the policies that you voted for.
Yeah, the same Mike Pompeo that wanted to kill Julian Assange, wanted to assassinate Julian Assange.
The president, it's about you, the voter. But Pompeo didn't do that. He didn't even try to do that. In fact, he undermined Trump's often stated commitment to peace and non-intervention abroad at every turn. His every waking hour was devoted to fomenting war in some faraway foreign country or other. Iran, Syria, Russia, North Korea, the list goes on. But rather than telling Trump that he disagreed with his ideas, as a man would, Pompeo toadied up to Trump, a man he despised, in the oiliest, most over-the-top way imaginable. Ask anyone who worked in that White House at the time. Who is the appointee most likely to tell Donald Trump on a daily basis that he was handsome, virile, sleek, and powerful? Mike Pompeo. That will be the consensus answer. Those of us who saw firsthand Pompeo's relentless kowtowing will never forget it. It was indelibly repulsive. No one was
This is why many people fell for Pompeo and thought that he was on Trump's side, because he made himself look like he was on Trump's side.
Self-respect could do something like that, but Mike Pompeo did it effortlessly, with relish and verve. Now, this same person is telling Fox News viewers that he fears for the safety of our military, our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines in the approved.
I know that one of the documents, and I'll have to do some research. One of the documents apparently Trump had was a planned military invasion. And if you remember back in 2019, around March, there was a whole thing going on with Venezuela. There was threats of an invasion. Ultimately, nothing happened, thank God. But I think that invasion plan, Venezuela was the target, and I think it was Pompeo who had a lot more involvement than even Trump did. It was Pompeo, Milley, Pence, a lot of the Trump haters in his cabinet.
Phrase. Because Donald Trump took some classified documents home and didn't immediately return them to the National Archives? What a lie that is. Mike Pompeo knows that's a lie. He spent his entire life in Washington. Washington is a city where internal memos about Labor Day are classified because everything is classified. Your government has classified more than 1 billion federal documents, most of them boring and pointless and a danger to no one, and locked them away in secret where you can't see them because you may be an American citizen, but not really, and therefore you don't have the necessary clearances to know what's going on. And by the way, none of this is done in order to make America safer, any more than COVID restrictions were designed to keep you healthy. No, it's a caste system. That's the point. And you're the untouchable in this hierarchy. Mike Pompeo knows that. Everybody who works in Washington knows that. How many secret documents do you think Dick Cheney took home with him while he was running the Iraq War? How many did his wife read? She never had a clearance. We'll never know the clearance. I think Dick Cheney took home with him while he was running the Iraq War. How many did his wife read? She never had a clearance. We'll never know the answer because there is no chance Dick Cheney will ever be investigated or staffers will be told to wear wires in his presence. He will never be indicted for this. Of course not. Dick Cheney is a neocon. Donald Trump is not. Dick Cheney supports war with Russia. Trump does not. That's the difference. The rest is just a distraction. The prosecution of Donald Trump is transparently political. He's literally Joe Biden's main political opponent. He's polling over 60% among Republican voters right now. So Joe Biden is doing what no president has ever dared to do. He's using law enforcement to lock up his chief rival. That's happening right now. Anyone who denies it's happening is lying to you. But actually, it's worse than that. Trump's prosecution isn't just political, it's ideological. Nobody with Trump's views is allowed to have power in this country. Criticize our wars and you're disqualified. If you keep it up, we'll send you to prison. That's the message Washington is sending. Not just the Democratic Party is sending, but both parties are sending. Like so many Republicans, for example, the supposedly conservative governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, spent yesterday totally ignoring the destruction of the American justice system. Instead, he signed a highly important bill called the Crown Act, which, according to the celebratory tweet Abbott sent commemorating it, will, quote, prohibit discrimination based on textures and hairstyles historically associated with race. In other words, in Texas, cornrows are now protected by law. Having unapproved views about Ukraine is not. That's fine with most elected Republicans. They find Trump tiresome and embarrassing. Their donors hate him. They will not be sad if he dies in jail. But what about voters? What are they learning from this spectacle? Well, mostly they're learning that they have no power at all because nobody cares about them. But they already knew that. Unlike so many of our elected leaders, they have been to America recently. They know what it looks like. Have you seen it? If you've got a few days this summer, find out. Take a road trip and see for yourself. Drive 500 miles in any direction and then come home. How are things looking? Well, they should look great. The federal government spent $6.5 trillion last year. That's more than any government has ever spent, ever. So at the very least, you would expect pristine public roads. Oh, no. That's not what you see when you drive around this country. There are potholes and Jersey barriers everywhere. Looks like Tegucigalpa before the Chinese decided to rebuild the infrastructure of Honduras. We don't have China buying our roads. So they're falling apart. You'd think the people you would pass on your road trip would look happy and prosperous. Again, this is a very rich country. But a lot of them don't. Quite a few appear to be strung out on drugs. You see them shuffling by shuttered storefronts in small towns. And you wonder, as you see all of this, where did all the money go? It's certainly not here. Well, it's in Washington. It's in Fairfax and Loudoun counties and in leafy, perfectly manicured Northwest D.C. And of course, a huge chunk of it went to Ukraine, to Zelensky and his friends.
And
not because you voted for that. You didn't vote to give it to them. You never would. But because Joe Biden and his many allies, from Chuck Schumer to Mitch McConnell to Paul Ryan and every single news anchor on all of television, all of them believe that Ukraine, its borders, its future, its infrastructure are all more important than the town that you live in. They sincerely think that, and it's obvious. Everyone in power thinks that, except for Donald Trump. Whatever else you say about him, Trump is the one guy with an actual shot at becoming president who dissents from Washington's long-standing pointless war agenda. And for that one fact, they're trying to take Trump out before you can vote for him. And that should upset you more than anything that's happened in American politics in your lifetime. Even if you don't plan to vote for Donald Trump, even if you would die before voting for Donald Trump, which is your right, and a lot of good people feel that way, even still, the destruction of our democracy, which is the right of voters to support any candidate they want, even candidates who don't want war with Russia, the destruction of that should keep you up at night. Yes, Donald Trump is a flawed man, but his sins are minor compared to those of his persecutors. In this life, we don't get to choose our martyrs. We can only choose our principles, and America's are at stake.
You often hear people say the news is full of lies.
Right. That's pretty good. It ties a lot together. Lots are being tied together. You know, probably I should work. This is unrelated, but apparently Disney are announcing a Disney Plus. So you decided to apparently greenlight a Disney Plus show air on Disney Junior Era with the Black Ariel. At least they got Flounder looking decent, but my God. All right. That's enough of that. We actually have some big stuff to talk about. More important stuff. So I'll break it down. So Trump was indictment had a lot to do because many of these people, you saw the donors. You don't think that DeSantis, he'll probably have at some point he'll have an event with the Bushes, Paul Ryan. I thought that was going to be his event. I thought his first event after announcing his run will be George and Jeb Bush, Karl Rove, Paul Ryan. It'll be at some luxury think tank place in New York, which will be a restaurant. Like, they'll have like a think tank there. It'll be a dinner. They'll have donor. It'll be just showing you that he is not a man of the people. That's what I thought it was going to be. But he is going to, and these are probably going to be he'll probably start doing more of these when the more he loses support, DeSantis. And the deep state wanted DeSantis as their candidate. They thought that the woke would be able to get Trump. Not Trump. They thought the woke would be able to convince those Trump supporters to come to him, but it didn't. You know what it did? It made people actually be like, okay, he's against the woke, but what else? Is he for the country? What's his economic policies? What's his policies on the economy? What this, that. And I might just do a video on why you should not back DeSantis. I'll do a video for tomorrow on reasons to not back Ron DeSantis. I think that'd be amazing because clearly this has got a lot of issues. He has got so many issues. And I think the only way is to do a video on why Trump needs to be it. And alternative, for example, if God forbid, if they take out Trump, we always have RFK, and if necessary, we have Vivek as our last option, assuming he doesn't get too anti-establishment, because Vivek does have his issues. Like Trump has his, RFK has his. No one's perfect. You're not going to agree with everything these candidates say. I know I don't agree with everything each of the candidates I like says. But you can't just immediately write them off when you don't agree. I know this is a desperate time. We've got lots of bad things happening. We've got this indictment. We got one in Georgia coming up, probably more to follow. But there's also positives. So my message, and we've got good 10 minutes, but my message is to stay positive because Trump's if he gets back in, he'll end the military-industrial complex. He will bring down the same military-industrial complex the great Dwight D. Eisenhower warned of. And he will reverse our foreign policy back to the one George Washington wanted. George Washington was total isolationist. It'll be what perhaps Huey Long actually had in mind. The great senator from Louisiana who could have been a great president. He could have possibly kept the U.S. out of the Second World War, and all the Americans' lives would not be lost. But knowing the leaders of the Axis, they'd probably try and draw the U.S. into the war for whatever reason. Probably because they would have felt, because they just couldn't control themselves. The Tojo, Mussolini, and Hitler could not control themselves. You know what I mean? But that's a thing for another day. It's like these deep state people. They can't control. They just keep poking. They poke at Trump. They poke at us, his supporters. They poke at parents who don't want this stuff, this pride propaganda put into their schools. They poke the Russian. They poke at the Chinese. And you know what's when you keep poking at the bear, ironic because Russia's national animal is a bear, what's going to happen? Or when you flick the balls of a tiger, how do you think that's going to go? You think the tiger's just going to look at you strangely? No, that tiger's going to maul you to fucking pieces. So here's they're seeing that the Ukrainian counteroffensive, it took them 7 days to breach through 7 or 8 days to breach through the security line. They're not even at the front line, the Ukrainians, in their counteroffensive in the Zaporozhye region. If you want more on that, go watch Jackson Hinkle. I think he's actually going to be live tonight. They know that their time is near. They know the war in Ukraine they want it to last for years, decades even. If the way it's playing out, it could be over by next year if Ukraine just keep draining themselves of manpower and equipment. I mean, NATO can just keep sending equipment. At some point, it's just going to be robots defending. And the Russians will probably still end up destroying them. So you can just say, oh, Russia's losing. Everyone's turning on Trump. It's not true. It's the exact opposite. There's a global awakening going on right now. They want to put Trump in prison because they see him as a threat. They want to eliminate Russia, Putin has been their enemy for years. He's not perfect, but he hasn't gone along with their plan. They now want to go after Xi Jinping not because he's perfect, certainly not. I don't like what he's done to the Uyghurs, that he's continuing the Uyghur genocide, which from all I've heard, he wants to end it, but problem is it would make the Chinese Communist Party look bad because it looked like they would have done a mistake. And he's got to figure a way out not for that to happen. Not just that, and the reason why you see George Soros attacking China is not because Soros is good or China is bad. Again, Soros was a Nazi collaborator. He sold out his own family. I mean, Xi did as well, but I guess it's different ways, but similar in ways. But Soros doesn't like that. China wanted to create their own model with Russia. They wanted to create their own. They're creating their own rival currency. The dollar is in decline, which is not good for the United States. It's good for the enemies, but for American hegemony, which it appears to be on its last legs, America's hegemony, I think our best thing would be to just have Trump negotiate ends to all these conflicts and then see through that our foreign policy for the next century is one of isolation, Washingtonian isolation. So what George Washington wants, not what the elite class in Washington D.C. want. And they can't have Trump because he'll give prosperity. He'll take away from the military industrial complex and he will give the American people the prosperity we have been missing for years. He'll probably withdraw us from the UN, withdraw us from NATO, and all these globalist organizations, the G7, the G20, which he should have done in his first term, but you can't do everything. I mean, I think he should also stop funding Israel and say that we're just cut off funding completely for Israel. I think a proposal is to unite Israel and Palestine into one country called the Levant. And I could explain this in another episode, maybe do a video on this proposed. Given how there are a lot of unity among the Orthodox Jews and the Palestinian Muslims actually against the Israeli government recently, I think that could work. I mean, I'd probably have to get people from Israel and Palestine on the show to debate on how it could work. And another thing I'll say is we see all this stuff about UFOs. Trump in his 2017 inaugural address said we would expose the secrets of the world. Of the universe, actually. It was of the universe. He still has another term to do that, and I'm convinced he will be the nominee, the Republican nominee. He will get in, and once he's done cleaning up the deep state, which I think will come on January 20th, 2025, I think after that, because he'll be a lame duck, he won't be able to run for office again. I think once he's done cleaning up the deep state, well, what he will do is he'll start to slowly roll out. He doesn't want to roll out because it could get overwhelming and it could cause a collapse of civilization, which is really what the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, George Soros, what they want. They want this collapse. That's what they really want. And I see we've got we're just going over what Trump will do after he's done cleaning up the deep state. I think that what he's going to do is he's going to erase this. I think he's going to just erase it. Take it all down. I don't think that there's going to be a to speak of, and he's going to start to bring the secrets of the universe to light slowly. Show we could get our answer on alien life, because I remember Trump said that he wanted to declassify documents on UFOs. It was back in May of 2020. He gave an interview with his son, Don Jr., and Don Jr. asked him actually about UFOs, and Trump said, well, we'll have to see. You can actually look, that clip is up there. We're going to start wrapping things up, actually. But that clip is definitely up there. We've seen, actually, Vegas recently, there's that report of a 10-foot tall alien. I'll actually bring that up because that is weird. I mean, I don't know. Present, share screen.
the BS you guys. One of my partners said they saw something fall out of the sky too, so that's why I'm kind of curious.
I don't believe in it, but what I saw right now, I do believe in it.
Now at 11, body camera video showing police following up on a call from this Las Vegas family saying they saw aliens in their backyard. On April 30th, people in California, Nevada, and Utah reported seeing a green flash streaking across the sky. As that officer mentioned, one of his partners even said they saw it. About 40 minutes later, this family called 911 saying there were 10-foot-tall beings with big eyes in their yard. Police aren't saying any more about this, only that the department has closed the case, calling it unfounded. Hello, I'm Mark Brown. Get more great.
What is going on? I mean, holy stuff is insane. You know what I mean? Like, the heck is going on? This is what a crazy world we are in. What a crazy thought. Yeah, I think that's a good place to end it. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and I will see you later. Bye-bye, everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, our national anthem.